How are you, my fans, sneak peepers, and curious friends? I am difficult and demanding. If you want to know my real name, then hold still, and I might bring your wish to fruition. Before we begin, you can find this podcast show in iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Blueberry, Google Play Music, TuneIn, YouTube, and Stitcher. This is the I'm Difficult and Demanding podcast, keeping it real, uncensored, and shooting straight between the eyes. The third eye, that is. I am going to hit you with explicit truth. This solo show is outrageously honest and keenly witty with a view into life. Yes, I said life. That's what we do every day when we wake up from sleeping. We are living life. Well, some of us at least. Let's get something straight. Really, really straight. I am truly, actually, habitually, and shamelessly difficult and demanding. And I completely own it. Now, I don't ask for much because I expect and receive it all. I firmly believe that if you expect shit, you will receive shit. What does that mean? Well, it means expect nothing but the best and don't settle for less. As always, I, your host, Tara, am keeping it real and uncensored. Do you feel it? Everything is falling into place. What you've been seeking is finally here. So come into my world and unplug from your life and dive all into episode 58 of the I'm Difficult and Demanding podcast. So you think an elite dating app is your solution to a dream relationship? You've checked all the boxes important to you, and it does the rest of the hard work. Degree, top university, check. Management track career, check. Carefully selected profile pictures, check. But what happens when life starts unchecking the boxes on your relationship? Do you still have a relationship once the original boxes are unchecked? You've got to be careful because how a relationship begins is how it ends. Before I begin, I am going to do a call out. What's a call out? Well, it's not a shout out. I am calling out you motherfucking lurkers. If you have entered my world, then be honest with yourself about it. You want to be here, and you know I want you here, so follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Finally, climb aboard and enjoy the entire show, because I am giving you plenty of ridiculous honesty. Once the podcast episode ends, I am keeping it going on my Instagram page at Difficult and Demanding and on my Twitter page at Mrs. D and D. All right, everyone. So I read an article, and this article was basically called Elite Dating Apps Threaten to Make America's Wealth Gap Worse. Yes. They're blaming elite dating apps for making America's wealth gap worse. Now, this sounds like a crock of bullshit to me, but I'm going to humor it because that is what I do. That is what I do. We go by this notion, this premise that all is fair and all is equal. As long as human beings are involved, nothing is fair. And nothing will ever be equal. But does that mean that we should not strive for equality? Of course, we should strive for equality, and we also should attempt to have fairness and balance and equality in our life and our choices. But we know that's not how the real world works now, does it? No, it doesn't. Which is why apps like these, elite dating apps like these exist. People want to stay at their level or above. And they want to weave through the possibilities of persons that cannot help them maintain their level or get to the next level. So we come up with all these creative ways to meet someone of the highest caliber that will either sustain us or catapult us to the next level. So this article begins to describe a romance that actually began through one of these elite dating apps. And this article said that a romance began on a server at San Francisco, a startup server in San Francisco. And a woman submitted a profile to an elite dating app. And the dating app is merely or purely for young professionals, young yuppie professionals. And she was the perfect prospect. She had a degree from a top university. She was on the management track at her company that she worked for. And she also had a carefully selected profile pictures and a winning smile. So she looked every bit of perfect on paper. Everything was check, 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 double check. What more can you ask for? Now, maybe because I have a few years under my belt, I don't know. But when you can go down a piece of paper and you can check boxes as far as what a person has or what they do not have, what they like and what they do not like, I can guarantee you that shit won't last. Things that look great on the surface, things that look great on paper, usually that's the only place that it is good, on paper. Now, some of you may be saying, no, that's not true because I checked all the boxes on my relationship and I'm still going long and strong. And you may be going long and strong, but the probability, the likelihood of you having the passion, the chemistry, and all those other things that you need to sustain yourself in a relationship, I can guarantee you that shit is gone. It is nice to have similarities. It is nice to overlap. But that stuff does not keep a relationship together. It helps you create a bond or a connection. But how deep that bond or connection goes, it depends on the same bullshit that you use to get together. For example, you want someone that works at a marquee company who's on the management fast track. Now, let's say this guy that you were dating was on the management fast track, and all of a sudden, because of politics, his shit got derailed or thrown off the tracks. Now your pretty little checked box picture starts to look upset now, doesn't it? All that you hope for, all that you dream that looked right on paper, life derailed your ass. Now what are you going to do? Your perfect match is no longer perfect because now boxes are getting unchecked. And what do you do when you cannot check all the boxes or recheck them? Do you know what happens? Do you know what you do? I think the whole way that we start relationships, I think is flawed. I think it's really flawed. It's flawed. How can we check boxes on human beings when you know that we are perfectly imperfect? What seems right today, I can guarantee you something will be wrong tomorrow. It's wrong tomorrow. You think an elite dating app is going to guarantee you what? Oh, they give you a certain level, a certain standard, so you know that you will never go beneath that level, right? Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I'm sniffing bullshit all the way around. You want a connection, but you want to rely on technology and app that help you get that connection. The strongest connections that you have are face-to-face, interacting, speaking with one another. Now, having those boxes checked, yeah, that's helpful. If you want to present someone perfectly, yes, it's helpful. And if you happen to be very fortunate, then that person may show themselves. Yeah, they may show themselves to you. But you may not like what you see. I can guarantee you, anyone who's going around checking goddamn boxes, I can guarantee you something else is going to be missing. Something else is going to be void. You cannot escape it. You cannot run from it. Those ego-based box checking bullshit that you come up with to determine whether you're going to be with someone. I know that things that look good on paper can be bad behind the paper, and what looks good on the surface can be hiding a goddamn nightmare. Have you not learned with people, things are not always what they seem? People put on their best face. They put their best foot forward to convince you of their worthiness, to show you all that you want to see and all that you want to hear. I would be very suspicious with the perfect profile pictures, everything just lined up. Check, 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 check. A catch like that, that's a needle in a haystack. That's a diamond that you just found. How is it that diamond is still available? Are you trying to tell me in places where there's high technology that this diamond that you found they can't have access to someone else? There has to be something wrong, because there's no individual that's perfect. And if you're seeking a person where you can check this box, check that box, check, 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 what kind of connection could you possibly have? Because soon as you guys stop having those overlapping interests, your relationship starts to basically fade away if you have self-awareness and you're paying attention. But a lot of us like to go along and act like nothing has changed and keep living that life when you and I both know shit, only thing that is constant is change. So here you got this dating app where they're saying it's threatening to worsen the wealth gap in America. The fact is, the wealth gap in America is what it is for some more stronger factors. But dating, who you date, yeah, that can change it. But it's rare that you find one person from one level of society go to someone for another level of society. It does happen, but it's rare because people associate with their own kind. So if you're trying to basically say, you know what, if these preppy, these Ivy League, these people keep going through these apps, then it's going to be apparent what happens in our country. Yes, but you can't stop that trend anyway. Things are going in that direction. So you're looking at a dating app like it's highlighting something different. No, you know what is going on? People are naturally trying to select who the fuck they want to be with. And due to technology, they have the ability to be even more honed in and selective on who and the fuck what they want. Which is why back in the day, there used to be arranged marriages, or people used to marry within their class. So this is another version of people dating within their class, living within their class, and falling in love within their so-called class. Where do we get the impression that it's someone else's job from a higher class to come down, reach down, and uplift people? Where do we get that notion from? It's very idealistic. At the end of the day, we're all looking for love, and we're all looking for love in different ways in different places. But I want to get back on topic because the wealth gap, it is what it is. It's happening anyway. But what I want to focus with you on is the fact that you got everything checked. But why are you still feeling void and empty-handed? Why is that connection not strong? If you are relying on outside third-party things to engage you and the person that you have your eye on, that you're in love with, that you're in a relationship with, what are you going to do when all that stuff is taken away? How are you going to connect then? What are you going to talk about then? What are you going to do then? What are you going to do when life happens to you and you can't finish your MBA degree that you promised you were going to do and which made the quote unquote love of your life fall for you? But when you realize you cannot do it, you don't have what it takes, then that's when your house of cards starts to fall apart. Yes. When you go around checking boxes, a person must have this, and this. Then you get with them and you realize, okay, that's not checked. That's not checked. That's not checked. Then you start to say, okay, I don't have much of a relationship here. But the problem is this. do you really want a real relationship? Because if you did, you would do a lot more work than creating profiles with the perfect pictures. All this enticement, this alluring, is all a game. It's all a ploy. We're all human beings, some more so than others. But if you're going around checking boxes, meaning I'm not going to engage with anyone that's at this level or another level without them having these certain factors, that's a very stifled and restricted life. How do you grow or blossom from that? You're starting a relationship boxed in. These are the parameters. You must like this. You must like this. You must continue to like this, and you must be like this. Those are too many rules. Those are too many check boxes. You cannot get a deep connection with all those fucking rules and parameters and things you must do, you must not do, you must have, you must not have. How can you have a relationship with someone when you have all these goddamn rules in your head that you need to basically take care of and be reminded of? When you put things in between you and another, whether it be static, TV show, music, anything that you use as a barricade, you are going to have a weak connection. And I don't care how much you have in common. Having things in common doesn't guarantee you anything at the end of the day. It does not. So her profile is perfect. Everything is done. They're hooking her up with people. This lady was quickly matched with someone working in sales and had just been admitted to an Ivy League MBA program. He was going to business school, and he had this perfect wardrobe that was from a preppy clothier. So this couple looked every bit of perfect. It's everything they want to look like. It's everything they want to be. There's everything they want to live. There's different levels and different types of relationships. And when you start a relationship with standards, rules, parameters, and expectations of another that's so restrictive and so stifling, I can guarantee you that puts a lot of stress and strain on your possibilities and your future. It's restrictive. Because unless you do this or have this, then that means that your relationship status is in jeopardy. When you're saying a person must work at a marquee company, a person must have an Ivy League degree, a person must dress this way, a person must do this, must do this, must do this. Those are too many motherfucking rules to have a real relationship and a real connection. You got too much shit to keep track of. So when you're juggling all these rules and expectations, how are you ever really going to connect with another person? Because you're too busy checking boxes. You're too busy making sure that everything looks a certain way. I can tell you there's some things that look all the way motherfucking wrong, but it's more right than any of those box checking, facts checking types of relationships. Life is not that way. Life, there's no guarantees. So if you think by barricading yourself or so-called trying to safeguard yourself from what is happening with life by saying person must have this, somebody's going to be cheating or get divorced somewhere down the line. It is not feasible at all. It's not feasible. When you guys start bickering and nagging and arguing and fighting, when you realize, okay, I may not be able to complete my business school degree, then you start to panic and wonder about the love of your life. Will they stay around? What will they do? Yeah. Listen to what I'm saying. If you are starting a relationship saying a person must have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, and those are the parameters, that's a lot of stress. That's a lot of strain. That's a lot of weight. And if you're placing that stress, that strain on your partner, whether it be a male or a female, some people are not cut out to live up to those standards. Some people are not cut out to keep those standards. Eventually, over time, it wears them down. And then what do they start to do? They either start to escape and or Find someone who they can chill the fuck out with and just be. Listen to what I said. When what you're looking for clouds your judgment and does not enable you to see the big picture, the small picture, the overall picture, because you're so honed in on these parameters, you're going to overlook some critical details before you start a relationship with someone, or you're going to lead yourself down a path in which you are unfulfilled and you're seeking this quote unquote perfect person. They don't exist. The freer, the more liberated, stable, and grounded you are, the more free and fluid and dynamic that your relationship can be. You start building a real concrete bond. But you can't do that if you're trying to check boxes. Box checking doesn't guarantee you anything, which is why the divorce rate's so high. Things look right on the surface, but they're very, very much wrong beneath the surface. We need deeper connections, and we must know how to do it. Now, how people locate mates, it comes in different forms. Now it's an app, but before it used to be something else. And that's just how time evolves, how things change. But you have to keep in mind to what I'm saying. If you have this long list of must-have, that's going to stifle and restrict the amount of love, time, care, and attention that you're going to get from someone that you love. So back to this man and woman. Within a week, they had arranged to meet at a tennis tournament, and then they had drinks, frozen yogurt, sushi, and everything else followed. Now, this couple has been together for 3 years, and they are now living and engaged in another place. They moved away while he was wrapping up his business degree. So naturally, you're thinking, hey, Tar, see, it works. They're still together. What about the passion? What about the desire? What about the spontaneity? What about the titillation, the exhilaration? When you have too many rules and parameters, it kills the fire of your relationship. It weakens the bond. You cannot be stifled. You cannot be holding on to things like that. Because for most of us, life happens, and life will derail, life will detour you, life will mess you up, you and your plans. So if you have gotten together because you know this person's going to get a degree and their future earning income is going to be that's why we have so many unhappy people, because we are making decisions with some tools that are just a tool. The mastery comes from your mind and your heart. And you have to exercise that, meaning your mind does not lead. Your heart is the leader. Now you're saying, well, my heart says marquee company. My heart says preppy clothing. That's not your heart. That's your brain. You're trying to please everyone else by saying, look at what I've achieved. Look what I've done. I've checked all the boxes, and this is the best person. And I got that person. You cannot sustain a long, healthy relationship with too many rules. It does not allow the other person to be comfortable or to be themselves. And you're saying, yes, I am comfortable. I'm living my dream life. You're living your dream life, but I can guarantee you within a certain amount of time, someone's going to be turning their eye, looking at someone else's direction, because what has been done, what is being done, and what was established no longer works. It doesn't work at all. You have to step away from certain notions and ideas. You have to, because it's not going to work for you over the long haul. But hey, maybe this is my life. But one thing I can tell you is that I've had a number of plans, and most of those plans have not and did not happen. Life has evolved, detoured, derailed me, and taken me down lanes and paths that I never could have even imagined. So I have to also make a fair judgment that happens to the rest of you. When you have expectations or rules, you must know that you're restricting your options and restricting yourself. You are. Because when you're so focused on A, B, and C, you may miss the fact that GHI may be a better alternative. But you're so caught up in getting that specific things from a person that you overlook the big picture, and you actually may overlook something that's much, much better for you. You don't know. But whether you meet a person in the club, the bar, the library, the grocery store, or on a dating app, everyone's trying to weed through someone. Get rid of the weeds and get to the real creme de la creme. And we all have our way of doing that. But what I'm asking you to do is, you want to use a dating app, you use a dating app. But I think we need to find a more genuine way of making this happen besides box checking. And maybe some of you don't need passion. You don't need desire. You don't need spontaneity. I find that hard to believe. But when you start your relationship out, like it's a robot, like it's a machine, guess what your relationship is going to be? It's going to be like a robot. It's going to be like a machine. Check, 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 check. And then when someone can't meet those expectations and quote unquote starts falling short, that's when the issues begin. That's when the fighting begins. That's when the disagreement begins. Because what you came together on was weak and fraudulent. And that is what you're going to use to try to force someone to do something. But in the end, you are just going to lose out on your relationship and on your happiness. You really are. And I don't think you want to do that. You don't want to do that. Why do you want to live up to perfection? Why do you want to live in the shadow of perfection? Perfection consumes. Perfection never ends. You're always striving and chasing instead of being comfortable. Box checking is seeking perfection. Now you're saying, I want the best. And I'm saying you deserve the best. But it's your approach that I have the problem with. All this box checking, I know you don't see it. But if you say, hey, I only want apples and I love apples and I don't love anything else, and I bring you something like blueberries to try, and you refuse to try it because your mind, your heart, soul is focused on apples, you miss out on something else that could be better suited for you. We put on horse blinders for life, to live life, and we're confused by why we are not getting to where we need to be and why we're not feeling what we need to feel. You start looking around, figuring out what the hell happened. Well, what happened? What happened is that box checking. That's what happened. The warmer, the open, and softer you start a relationship, that's the direction it's going to go. But if you're looking for all these standards up front and you're not willing to speak with a person unless they have X, Y, and Z, I'm saying you are really restricting yourself. You're limiting yourself. Why would you ever limit yourself? You don't want to do that. So the female said that she thought it was important that she had someone that was basically on her level to date, that was well educated, driven, and had a lot of the same goals. A lot of the same goals. Do you really need to have the same goals? Can you not have your own personal goals and you both work to achieve them even though you're still together? Why does everything have to be the same? Why does everything have to be cookie cutter? Human emotions, thoughts, they're not cookie cutter. So how do you have it that if you match all these things, you cookie cutter your life, that is what your life is going to look like? No. It doesn't last. It doesn't sustain. And I can guarantee you someone's going to fall short because you cannot live up to those expectations for a sustained period of time. You cannot. So she said she had big, humongous career plans. She's highly ambitious. And she typically scared men away because of how hard her hustle, her grind is. She had dreams, hopes, and ambition, and she wanted to make sure no one was intimidated, threatened. She got tired of it, feeling abandoned. If a person's not cut out to handle you, that means they're not right for you, and you should not feel bad about it. You shouldn't feel bad at all. Why do you want to feel bad about that? Be grateful about that. Be grateful. I like to look at things this way. This is who I am. This is what I want for myself. This is what I'm achieving for myself. And I keep an open demeanor for the most part as far as who I engage with, who I interact with, places where you can find me. And then you see who you meet and you click and you do all that without all the box checking. Because if you're trying to overlap too much for too long, that is a model that you cannot sustain. That is a model that will add a lot of stress and heartache to you. You have to determine what value a relationship is adding to your life, what the person's bringing. And if they're only bringing certain letters after their name, like MBA or a undergrad degree, or they're adding, a certain zip code, or they're adding only certain things, that's not a relationship. That's barely a fucking companionship. It's nothing real. It's nothing important. And maybe not everyone wants love in a relationship, but I find that very hard to believe. You want to know that someone genuinely cares for you and is not with you for the company that you work for, or the tag, the label that's on your clothing, or the car that you drive. Don't you want something beyond the material things? Yes, the material things are nice because both of you don't want to be at a motherfucking stop sign begging for cheeseburgers and fries. Okay? Horrible thing to say, but this is what it is. But you want to connect so that when you get through you're going through those difficult, stressful times, those sad times, you don't want someone bailing on you because one, you got fired from this great job you used to have and you no longer have it. So they figure, hey, motherfucker, I'm going to bounce on you. You don't want someone to do that. Or you're hoping that eventually you fall in love. If you start your relationship on some objective, some third party outsourced labeling type of things, then you should already be prepared as far as what you should expect when those things that you start your relationship with, they start to disappear. You got to look at how you start your relationships because how you begin it is how you're going to end it. And if you're looking more at what a person has achieved, what they have, instead of who they are, I can tell you right now how deep that relationship goes. That's why this article is talking about how the wealth gap in America is basically widening. Because if you have people who are only focused on certain characteristics, certain principles, certain things only, they're going to marry within their own circle. And then eventually everyone starts marrying within their own circle and there's not a distribution of, opportunity and wealth. You got to keep an open mind. You have to keep an open heart. You have to have an open demeanor. And if your openness extends only to a certain point, what are you going to do when that pool is slim? What are you going to do when that pool of yours gets harder and harder to find? Are you going to loosen your criteria? At the end of the day, the most fulfilling relationships, they bring you joy. They bring you happiness. They complete a part of you that's inside of you that you can't see. If you're trying to get me to believe that you're a person that has this particular degree from this university, that works at this particular company and earns this amount of money is going to bring you happiness, hell no. One of you motherfuckers are going to be cheating. Another one of you motherfuckers are going to get served with divorce papers unbeknownst to you. It's not sustainable. Connections give life. And when it gives life, you give life back. All these picture perfect things you cannot sustain. And a number of us go hopping from one relationship, 2 relationships, 3 relationships, 4, with even more and more criteria as far as who we're looking for. That's why a number of you people are single. That's why a number of you are single. There's some basic level things that you must have when you are seeking relationship. But I can tell you this, real love, true love, that shit does not always look pretty picture perfect. That shit can look foul as hell, look wrong as ever, and taboo as fuck. Did you hear what the fuck I said? Yeah. The best thing for you can look like the worst thing on the face of this goddamn earth. Now, what are you going to do about that? Most of you people are going to walk the fuck away. You'd rather be with something that looks right instead of be with something that feels right. And relationships are about feelings. Your degree, a temporary feeling. Your promotion, a temporary feeling. Your yuppie, preppy clothing, that's temporary. None of that shit is fulfilling. It's not fulfilling. That's why you're drinking and doing all those other things, or your husband or your wife's not paying attention to you, because frankly, they have no interest in you. You're focusing on things that's superficial. You're focusing on things that basically cannot withstand time. It cannot withstand time. What do you do if your perfect box-checking spouse gets injured, can no longer walk, loses a limb, becomes sick? For those of you who are focused on box checking, that's going to be hard as fuck with you. And you may bounce, you may bail. But if you were to get sick or injured, would you like someone to bounce or bail on you? No, you want someone to stick the fuck with you, right? So yeah, these elite dating apps or wherever it is that you're meeting people, you have to take them with a pinch or grain of salt. You have to realize what its purpose is, but do not follow through with it on 100%. You got to cast a bigger net to find what you're looking for. If you're only looking in one particular corner of a room, and that's the only direction you look, you may miss your soulmate that's behind you someplace else. We have to expand our minds. We have to expand our horizons. The things that are right for us, I can guarantee you will have a hard time identifying that shit, because it's not going to look like, sound like anything you ever imagined or what you would think it would seem. But unless you're open and you have conversations and you engage and connect, you will miss out. You can miss out on the greatest life blessing that you could ever imagine. All because you're looking for shit to look a certain way. Your blessings, most times, will not arrive in the packaging that you hope, want, or expect. Listen to what I said. Some of your greatest joys and life blessings do not look like what you expect them to look. Whether it's a person, a place, a thing, a goal, a notion, whatever. Your greatest dreams coming true 9 times out of 10 will not look like anything you imagine. But if you have your head in the ground in a goddamn rabbit hole, you will miss out. And when you miss out, it's not going to come back around for you. Once it's gone, it's goddamn gone. We have to take off these shackles and handcuffs when we're going through life. We have to be open to things that you didn't even think that you would have to touch, consider, catch a whiff of. You have to expand your mind. You have to expand your horizons, and you have to see beyond and above things that are presented to you. You have to. Why do you think there's a saying called a diamond in the rough? If you're too busy looking for polished diamonds that everyone is competing for, you're going to end up with 1 carat, half a carat. But for those of you who are really smart, you're astute, you say, fuck that. Too much competition. What is being offered is too goddamn small. If I turn around and look someplace else, you may find a 10 carat diamond that's in the rough. And by the time you finish polishing it, you walk away with 9.5 carats versus that 1 carat that you were originally trying to find. You don't know where your gems are hiding. But if you're following a trail or pattern that's too specific, no, anything that goddamn specific, I can guarantee you, the plan is going to go wrong. It's going to go wrong. It's going to go foul. Life does not work that way, where you're going to get a picture perfect clone of yourself and go off into the sunset and live happily ever after. No, we're here for growth. People who challenge us, people who help us evolve, people who help us get in touch with our inner self and our inner feelings. So yeah, you want someone who has a great career? Okay, I get it. But they may not be on the management track. You want someone who dresses decent, nice? Okay, you can get that. But they may not be these preppy designer label clothing that you want. You want someone who has an education? Great. It may not be one of the Ivy League degrees that you hopefully expect. So that's what I'm saying, where you know what? If you don't give yourself some room to breathe, to navigate, to alter, and to pivot, you may walk away empty-handed. You know a number of women who are single and they continue to be single and they're going to stay motherfucking single. Not because they're not a wonderful person. Their decision-making process is off. Things that they should avoid, they run to. And things that they should run to, they avoid. Listen to what the fuck I said. Things that you should avoid, that looks right on paper, people run to. And what you should be running to, you avoid. Because it doesn't look right on paper. And you don't want to take the time to get to know something, to expand your mind, to say, you know what, wow, why do I got to compete for this little bit of crumbs when I can turn around and have a buffet behind me? Expand your mind, open up, and you expand your opportunities, you expand your blessings, you expand the ability to have the greatest and deepest connection that you could ever have. So it's good to have an expectation of what you're looking for, but don't restrict yourself. Don't hinder yourself. Don't thwart yourself by living and breathing those standards where you miss something that could give your heart the greatest love jolt that you ever could imagine. Yeah, you could have the perfect looking spouse on paper, and that person doesn't do anything for your soul, your being. It's just flatline dead. But you look great for everyone else. Can't stand each other, don't want to look at each other, can't touch each other, don't listen to each other, but everything looks great on appearance and on paper. And then you can have something else. When I say it looks motherfucking wrong, wrong doesn't even begin to describe that shit. But that can make you feel like you've been reborn again. You love life, you're living life, you are life, you give life. You got to choose which path you want to go on. One is filled with real love, acceptance, and the other one is filled with standards, hurdles to get over, higher expectations, rules. The list goes on and on. But you got to choose what type of life you want to lead. So this elite dating app business model is predicated on an age-old reality that courtship is partly economic. It's economic exercise. Courtship is whatever the fuck you want it to be. It can be economic. It could be physical appearance. It could be personality. What we like as human beings, that list never ends. You don't know where it ends or begins. It can be any and everything. Courtship is very unique to the people that are involved. But you have to be clear on who you are, what you need, and what you want, so you can define or determine what type of courtship you want. For some people, economics is very important. But what do you balance those economics out with? Is it emotion? Is it feelings? Is it more degrees? Is it more zeros in your bank account? We're here to live our happiest, most fulfilling life. We really are. Now, what you consider fulfilling and happiest, I guess it depends on who you are and what your goals are. But I can tell you this, true happiness makes you feel good. A piece of paper, a degree, that can't give you that shit. Someone working at a company, if the person working at this perfect company, marquee company, and they're miserable, you're going to have a fucked up relationship. They're going to be running into the arms and in between the legs of some motherfucking body else who make them feel good. At the end of the day, we want to motherfucking feel good. Working at a particular company, having a particular degree, having a certain zip code, having a certain car, wearing certain designer labels, that shit is temporary. That means nothing. It means something at one point in time, but it will mean nothing over the long haul. And you'll be staring at each other like you're strangers. You will realize you don't know each other. You will realize that all your relationship has been based off of box checking. Box checking. So you can add some more boxes or you can get rid of some more boxes, but box checking will only take you so motherfucking far. And at that point in time, people start getting divorced. They say these apps have a clustering effect, which means that people are seeking mates with similar levels of schooling. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with seeking a mate with similar levels of schooling. There's nothing wrong with seeking someone who has similar hobbies. However you want to define your relationship or where you want to go, what you want to do, it's your prerogative, but you have to base it upon you and knowing who you are. If schooling is important, let it be schooling. Hobbies are important, let it be hobbies. Personality, personality. Just be clear and firm on what you're doing and why and the best way to achieve it. You're not going to get everything you want. You may not get everything you need. But if you get clear on who you are, what you want, then you can start coming up with ways to make it happen. The only thing I'm trying to teach you guys is to be open. Give yourself some breathing room to pivot and change. You're too busy competing with others over a small amount of crumbs. You may miss a feast, the perfect person for you behind you, if you take a moment, turn around and scope out the land instead of chasing after what everyone else wants. What everyone else wants may not be right for you. But if you don't know you won't realize that because you're too busy in a rat race. You're too busy in a rat race. We got to get smart and stop following the herd. We have to follow ourselves and learn what is right for us and do that shit. This article said that dating services and apps make it easier for people to find, date, and marry people with similar backgrounds, which compounds the rift as far as the socioeconomic rifts. At the end of the day, people like what they like, and they're going to go about it in the way that they want to go about it. The only thing I would say is when you're using these apps and these dating services, you want to make sure that they are not getting you to conform to some type of script as far as how you look, how you think, how you behave. You want to engage with things that help you realize and be the true you. Because by being the true you, you can actually show the real you and attract someone who is right for you. But if you're unclear about who you are, what you need to be, and how you need to do it, then whoever you're attracting is not going to be a connection that's going to be lifelong because you are unaware of who you are and what you need. When you know who you are and what you need, then you can identify where to get it from. But if you are living a fraud, a facade type of life, trying to conform and follow the patterns or the footprints of other people, you're going to end up in one relationship after another. It doesn't matter if you're using a dating app, dating services, you're meeting someone at different places. The key is to get clear on who you are, how you are, what you need to be, and where you're going in your life. Who you end up with is going to be who you end up with based on a number of different factors. The best piece of advice I can give you is really, really research you, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the pretty, and get comfortable with all that. Because when you are aware, you're clear, you're balanced, then it makes it easier for you to navigate and pivot. It makes it easier for you to determine what you're willing to withstand, what you're not willing to withstand, what you're open to, what you're not open to. It gives you options, flexibility, and choices that you would not have if you're going around following some cookie cutter mold that most people follow. We have to know ourselves, not this surface level bullshit. You got to go deep to know your fears, your insecurities, your hopes, your dreams, your failures. You have to know all of that because that compounds who you choose and who you choose to spend your life and your time with. And if you want to spend your life and time with someone, you want to make sure it's the best person possible. You don't want to end up wasting time on someone or something that is holding you back from living your rightful dream of happiness and bliss. Now, one person who signed up for one of these dating apps, this person spent 6 months on a waiting list before they were admitted to this elite dating app. 6 months. What the fuck was he doing over the last 6 months? I'm hoping he was dating, but waiting 6 months to get on the dating app, like that guaranteed something. And he said that he took it as a good sign because if they make you wait, then that must be good. What kind of stupid shit is that? You can't assume that just because there's a waiting list and you got a whole bunch of other fools trying to do the same thing, that must be right. That's what I'm saying. You end up in one relationship after the next, after the next, after the next. We always want someone else to do our work. We want someone else to do the work. We want someone else to have the responsibility. We want to have someone to blame. But the fact of the matter is, why are you waiting for a dating app or a dating service to change your life, to help you find someone? You have to take the initiative to get to know yourself, what you need to do, how you need to do it, and take your power in your own hands. If you're waiting for a dating app or dating service to let you in after 6 months and you're thinking, wow, I made it. This is it. This is where I'm going to find what I'm looking for. That's why you're in the situation. We have to take the bull by the horns. We have to do our own research. We have to get our own game up. We have to bring our A game. You have to do your homework on you. You can't rely on other people to research you, to tell you what you need to do. You're the best person that knows you. So whether you're looking for a relationship for economic reasons, social reasons, emotional reasons, mental reasons, your choice is your prerogative, but at least you should know what it is that you're seeking and why. And then you can figure out the tools to make that happen. But most of us go through life seeking things based off of the herd mentality. If there's a 6 months waiting list, then this must be the place to go. If I got to pay this high initiation fee, then this must be the place to go. No, people are playing with you. They're manipulating you. They're getting you to do shit that may not be in your best interests. So if you're out there casting a net, trying to catch as many possible fish as possible, you want to make sure you have the right net. You're in the right location at the right time. In the right season. You want to stack yourself for success. It's your job. It's your responsibility. But whether you're using an elite dating app for economic reasons, whether you're using another dating app to hook up for sexual reasons, whatever path that you choose, you need to be clear on why you're choosing that path so you can get your goals met. If you're just randomly doing things, hoping that you will get lucky, no. You're going to be used, tossed, disappointed, and start that cycle all over again. Be a sniper. Hit the bullseye. Knock it right out of the park. Don't second guess. Don't pussyfoot. Don't half-ass. What is important to you? Write down the top 3. Write down the top 3 of things that you're flexible on, and you start working from there. You got to be fluid. You got to be dynamic. You got to be open and aware and astute and pay attention to what the fuck is going on around you. I told you before, your blessing may come in a package that you never ever imagined. But if you're too busy focusing on something to arrive that looks a particular way, you may miss something that's right in front of your face. That could be your dream come true. But because you are not open-minded and open-hearted, it will pass you the fuck by. Don't make that mistake. Don't do what other people do. Trust your heart, trust your instincts, and go from there. And if you make a decision, you can always change your mind and pivot and go another direction. You are the driver of your future. You are the driver of your present. If something works, you do it. When it stops working, you stop doing it, pivot and go a different direction, and you do that. You're not stuck unless you choose to be stuck. You are as fluid as you want to be. The more dynamic you are, the more open and accepting you are to change. That invites things to come into your life that you never expect. The more rigid, closed-minded, judgmental you are, you will be hindering your life and all the possibilities that it has to offer. So articles like this, they're bullshit at the end of the day. Elite dating apps are creating wealth gaps in America. Wealth gaps are being created for a whole host of reasons. Dating apps, I can tell you this, is very small. It's at the bottom of the list. The fact is, people like what the fuck they like. They want what the fuck they want. And most people like to stay around people of their similarities, of their similar kind. That's what they're comfortable with. People like to go with what they're comfortable with. What you're comfortable with is what you're familiar with. Comfort and familiarity doesn't mean that it's right for you, but we're fucking lazy, so that's what the hell we do. People who are more adventurous, pioneering, they will step out of their comfort zone to find something that's more fulfilling, more gratifying, more exciting, more adventurous. It all depends on your personality. The more open you are, the more exploratory you are, the more options you have. If you want to stick with comfort, you want to stick in your backyard, then you're rolling the dice and the odds are not in your favor. So more than likely you will end up having to settle for some mediocre room temperature bullshit, but at least you have a relationship. May not be worth shit, may not give you shit, but at least you can say you're in a relationship. For those of you who are looking for something more from life, step outside your comfort zone. You may be surprised by what the hell life has to offer. If you choose a dating app, a dating service, an old-fashioned way, whatever route you choose, just be clear on why you're doing it, what the fuck you want from it, and be able to identify if it's going to help you meet your goals. If it's not going to help you meet your goals, you drop that shit like a fucking hot potato and you move to something else, because your goal is to get what the fuck you want. You got to know what you want to be able to look for it. When you look for it, and you identify it, then you have to reach for it. Then when you reach for it, you got to grab that shit. No one's going to give you a motherfucking thing. You have to go get it, grab it so it can be yours. If you keep waiting around for a dating app to match you, you keep waiting around for a dating service to have you, you keep waiting around to get off the waiting list, your life is passing you the fuck by. Take the initiative. Let go of fear and see what the fuck is out there. You may surprise yourself and you will grow a lot more in the process. We've been courting each other for many different ways, for many different reasons over the existence of mankind. Royalty has stayed with royalty. Peasants have stayed with peasants. It's just how human nature is. Over recent times, things have been mixing and matching over time as far as socioeconomic reasons. But the fact is, how you choose to commingle and hook up with someone is your own personal choice. Just be clear on why you're doing the shit. Don't think that dating apps, they've reinvented anything. All they've done is taken some technology and giving you a lot more options and flexibility as far as your reach and who you're able to meet and interact with. But how you meet people,
It's existed since the dawn of mankind. That's what humans do. They want to meet people, get to know people, get in relationship, stay in a relationship, get out of relationship. But dating apps, nothing new. Don't get suckered. Don't get conned into believing some shit that may not be true. They're just trying to lure people so they can make money. If you happen to find a relationship that way, great, awesome. You're already the lucky ones. But if you're going around box checking with all these dating apps, what they do with the picture perfect pictures and all that, you're setting yourself up for failure. You're setting yourself up for disappointment. You're setting yourself up for disgust. And you're setting yourself up to be motherfucking lonely in a relationship, because that is not how it works. You want someone who feeds your mind, your body, your heart, and your soul. You're not going to get that checking boxes. Because once life starts to happen to you, and you start unchecking boxes, life causes you to uncheck boxes. And when those boxes get unchecked, do you still have a relationship after that point? Most of you will not. And I don't think that's how you want to be left behind. So think about what I said. See if you can do it a different way, a better way. But if you're stuck on checking boxes, that's fine. But just be open-minded and fluid to other possibilities so you don't miss out on something. Don't be a horse with blinders on. Be aware. Be accepting. Be open. You can always say no. You can always say yes. And you can always change your motherfucking mind or your direction. You're not committed unless you choose to be committed. And even if you commit, you can change your goddamn mind and move the fuck on. Life is short. Be happy, be you, dare to be you, and be clear on how the fuck you're going to be you. I'll talk to you guys next week. Are you disappointed this has come to an end? Well, it doesn't have to. Reach out and let me know what you think about this episode and my podcast. You can try and slide into my DM, but I will kick your ass out. So I suggest you hop into my DM on Instagram at Difficult and Demanding, or Twitter at Mrs. D&D, or leave a comment on one of my posts. I hope you enjoyed yourself as much as I did. If not, we can try again next week. Seek me out on Instagram at Difficult and Demanding and follow me. Episode 59 is here on January 4th, 2019 from the I'm Difficult and Demanding podcast. And by the way, Happy New Year from me to you.